What was your idea of Nepal?
The Himalayas and Mount Everest and the people like Tenzing and Hillary, part of the history. So I think we all know a little bit about Nepal because of your magnificent geography.
Like, how do we identify our passion?
I don't worry about it too much, frankly. I've got the best job in the world. The single thing I can do is hire good people. So I focus on hiring talented people. And then I've got to have the competence to let them thrive.
What was your first job, sir?
Well, my first job would have been just in a factory loading clothes onto lorries.
What are the basic qualities that you'd want in your team?
A commitment, strong work ethic, good attitude, and selflessness. The person with the highest IQ isn't always going to be the most successful.
What difference do you see with the students in Malaysia and the students here in Nepal?
I think the students I deal with at Taylor's here and in Nepal today, they radiate optimism.
Nepal could be at a different level or different level. How do you strategize the future of education?
You have to pick your strategic partners, and then you have to commit to those partners to make the relationship meaningful. We now need to educate explorers because the knowledge is free, but we need to give people the skills so that they can compete in this new world.
Namaskar, Mahu Jay Pradhan, and I welcome you to IIMS Podcast, which is all about your education, your future, and how IIMS will be there with you in shaping your future in the days to come, and how this affiliation with Taylor's University Malaysia will shape up in the days and years to come together. We're here for you as you're here with us. And now, in order to clear up the air, we have the Vice Chancellor and the President of Taylor's University Malaysia, Professor Barry Winn, with us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Is this your first time in Nepal?
First time in Nepal, yes, it is.
Yeah?
And, it's been delightful.
What was your idea of Nepal?
Well, I know a little bit about Nepal, but partly through the Himalayas and Mount Everest and the people like Tenzing and Hillary are part of the history. So I think we all know a little bit about Nepal because of your magnificent geography.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, we are always baffled with the kind of geography we have and the history we have, but at the same time, getting these compliments from you and the kind of impression that our yester generations have made, it makes us humble and gratified at the same time. However, sir, I'd like to know you as a person. I've been visiting the college since a year now, IIMS College, a year and a half. And I've always been told it's a very strict and regulated kind of university that IIMS has been associated with. And the kind of idea that I had about you was I'd be, coming across a man who's only known for a few words, probably is busy, is going to go from one point to the other point, looking at the time. But turns out today, my first impression today of you was I saw you interacting with the students, and you're pretty much interested in their projects. You're having two-way conversations with them, and the students didn't really feel intimidated because the Vice Chancellor and the President of Taylor's University was there with them. They're pretty much open to you. I'd like to know you when you were of their age, or probably before than that, as a person. What shaped you in becoming this? I want the people in, at least whoever watches our conversation today or listens to our conversations today, what shaped you as a person in becoming the person that you are? I've had a good privilege amount of time where I could know you as a person, and you've taught me a lot, even in the limited conversations we had. So what was your childhood like?
Well, I'm from the north of England. I'm from an old industrial town called Newcastle. People will know the football team, Newcastle United, and might remember Alan Shearer, one of our most famous players. And when I was a boy, that was an industrial town. In the 1960s, we had shipbuilding, coal mining, heavy industry. And none of that's there anymore. It's been a transformed town, new economies. But my life was a normal working life, going to school with expectations of working in shipyards or factories. And my father was an advocate for education. He always felt education was a way forward. And he always encouraged me to continue with education. And it has transpired that having the opportunities put before me has allowed me to have a career in a life that I wouldn't have envisaged as a schoolboy in the 1960s.
Well, was it common in Newcastle for a father to think about education for their children like your father did? Was it a very common trait then?
I think in a lot of working class communities it was not. I think there was a sense of you'd leave school at 15 or 16 and go and work.
This is in the UK we're talking
This
about.
is in the UK, and this is in the 70s even. My father served in Singapore in 1950 in the Royal Signals as a part, after the war he had to do national service. And he spent 2 years digging ditches and putting up telephone cables as a part of the Royal Signals. And when he left the army in the early 50s, he went and put himself through night classes so that he could get a little bit better educated. And he ended up having a career in the telecommunications industry in the UK. And I think he only dipped his toe into the water of that, but he's seen the potential from people around him who had been better educated and how that could transform lives. So I think that's what drove him to encourage me to follow that path.
Did you ever feel rebellious? Because at that point of time, probably when you're younger, you probably you don't probably want to listen to whatever or all of it, what your parents would tell you. Were you the rebellious kind?
I don't think I was terribly rebellious, but I did play a lot of sport when I was young, and I played a lot of football. And I was doing my A-levels at school, and I was getting a little bit fed up because I played football for a really good team, and the guys I was with were working in the factories and becoming apprentices, and they had motorbikes and various things. And I was going to leave school, and my father said to me, "If I buy you a motorbike, will you stay at school?" So he bought me a 125 Honda, and I stayed at school. So I was easily bought.
So motorcycles were the factor that actually got you stuck.
He knew that would settle me down. Absolutely, he knew that would settle me down. And
so you used to go ride your motorcycle to the college?
I rode to school on my bike every day, and when I was a student, I rode my motorbike every day, and I still have motorbikes to this day.
Yeah, I saw the pictures that you showed me. You've got a MV Super Veloce.
I have.
You've got a BMW Boxer.
I have.
And the KTM.
Super Duke GT.
It was these three machines are beautiful.
Beautiful machines, yeah.
If you could have the pictures, if you could show this in the podcast, with your permission, it
yes,
would be
indeed.
like really cool.
Yeah, well, it's the nice thing about motorbiking, like when you're in senior jobs is, and when you're my age, once you put the crash helmet on, you've got to think about the road. And if your mind drifts off, the consequences are severe. Whereas if you go out and do sports like golf, you're out there for 4 hours, and in between shots, your mind can drift back to work. So I quite like motorbiking because it's a joyous thing to do, and your mobile phone can ring, but you don't hear it, and you just find a little bit of peace and calm. And it's a nice thing to do with friends and colleagues. So I do it with my son and some of my friends.
So it gives me an idea that, or an impression that you're a very passionate man and you have passions intact. Is it so?
I've got passions for certain things, for sure. Yes, and I certainly, I've got a huge passion for higher education. I mean, it transformed my life, and because it's transformed my life, it's transformed the life of my children. My daughter is currently in the University of California doing a PhD, and my son is the head of he's working for Global PR Hyundai in Seoul. Now, so the fact that our family started in Newcastle and now we're all over the world, it's just remarkable. It's just remarkable, and it's wonderful.
You're a global family in
well, a bit we are, a little bit we are.
So, how does a person know what passion is? This is the question that I get a lot from the students. Like, how do we identify our passion?
Yeah.
What does your experience tell?
Oh gosh, that's a difficult question. I think some of us, I've been very fortunate in my life that I've been able to take a path And all through that path, I've had support and guidance and been in encouragement and had opportunities to move. Now, I've had to be prepared to move from my hometown or move from my home country. But provided you're willing to take opportunities, then you can follow a very nice career path. I know I'm very fortunate. Not everybody has that. Some people leave school, go to work, then not in jobs particularly they enjoy, and the economic consequences mean they haven't got a lot of choice. So I don't think I've got an answer for everyone. But I just feel, I've been lucky that I've had the opportunity to work and the next step suddenly became available to me. And it's just been a progression that has really given me a joyous life, I should say. Not without its challenges, not without its ups and downs, but overall, it's been a really, really rewarding experience and a really a joyful one.
So coming to experience, and now I'd like to slowly take you towards your professional career and slowly towards the university that we're all talking about right now. What was your first job, sir?
Well, my first job would have been just in a factory working, loading clothes onto lorries, really, as a young boy. And then I'd done my A-levels, and then I ended up doing a degree. But all through working, I would work in the summer. I spent one summer in a bread factory loading bread onto lorries, and worked in an electronics factory, putting robots together. And then when I qualified, I worked in clinics in eyes and looking at my expertise initially was in children with lazy eyes and squints.
Right.
And then I went off and done a PhD again because an opportunity opened up, and I just finished my PhD, and I was offered a job as a lecturer at Aston University in Birmingham. And then one thing led to another. You get interested in research, and if you publish some papers and do some interesting work, you get offered another job. So it was that was the path I took.
So during the time when you did your first job, what was your age?
Well, I would have been about 16, I think. I left school at 16, and I wasn't sure what the next step was going to be. So like many people at that age, you find a job and you find yourself working in a particular industry at low level, just doing a normal job. And I realized fairly quickly that probably wasn't for me. I thought there were probably more fulfilling ways to spend my life.
Wow. I mean, it's been like 40 years you've been working now?
It'll be nearly 50 years.
50 years
Yeah.
of what you've lived in this planet, you've worked since a very young age.
Since a very young age, yeah.
Did you finance your own studies when you were young?
No,
what was it
I
like?
didn't. I keep talking about, I've had a blessed life, really. At that time in the United Kingdom in the 1970s, so I left school in the 1970s, the government give you a grant. So if you went to university or you were a student, you got a grant, and you got money to have a hostel, and you got money to live, and there was no fees. And my parents supported me as well. So it was very easy as long as you had the drive and you were prepared to stick with it. Financially, it wasn't a problem back then, and that's what I'm saying. That was a very, very different world to now.
So what was the education then, and what is the education now? What difference have you felt as the president and the vice chancellor of Taylor's University now, and as a student then?
Yeah.
What difference do you feel?
Well, I've used the contrast a number of times recently to highlight some of the issues. So I think this is a really, really exciting time for higher education. We have tools and techniques available to us that weren't invented when I was a boy. We have generative AI. Now, some people say it as a threat. I would rather see it as an opportunity. It's not going to go away. How do we embrace that to do better? And that's what we've been doing that at Taylor's, and I could happily give you some examples. So one of the things for me is I think this is a really exciting time to be in university education. And I really wish I was at the start of my career, not the end, because it really is exciting. But going back in time, the difference has been, in the past, if I wanted to know the capital of Nepal, I'd have had to go to a library and get a book and find it that way. I can find everything on my phone now. Knowledge is free.
Right.
So from moving from a society where you went to a place of learning because we had libraries and expertise, that's all free now. So the nature of what we do will change a little bit. So in the past, we used to celebrate achievers, people who knew the capital in a fall. But what we now need to do is we now need to educate explorers because the knowledge is free, but we need to give people the skills so that they can compete in this new world. And, I've said this a few times that the jobs that our students will do haven't been invented yet. I didn't know there was a job that you could be an influencer. That was new to me, but apparently people can be influencers. So there's a whole range of new opportunities opening up for people in this digital world. And I think what we need to do is provide education that absolutely is for the digital age. So I want it to be for 2050, not 1950.
So right behind you, it reads as Stellar's Business School World 6% AACSB accredited.
Yeah.
One of 5 Malaysian private universities. It reads that. You're from the UK, so yourself. You've seen education grow from the UK itself. Top universities, top professors, top researchers, all of it in the UK. But at Taylor's University, which is one of the high-ranking universities of the world, which competes pretty much out there, what difference have you seen with the UK system and the Malaysian system?
Well, I think I think it's a false dichotomy between public and private universities. So what I would say is that if you look at my home country at the moment, they've become over-reliant on international student fees. They haven't changed quickly enough to adapt to this particular world. Immigration now is becoming an issue, and fewer students are starting to register. And many of those institutions are in financial difficulty. So countries need universities. As I said, they transform lives, they contribute to the economic, social and cultural benefit of a country. But governments can't really afford universities anymore. They're very expensive. You've got to deal with healthcare, transport, all of those other things. So what I think is interesting in Malaysia, we have a number of private universities. Our university, we have a magnificent, iconic campus that was paid for by the private sector, hasn't cost a penny of Malaysian taxpayer money. In fact, we pay tax. So we pay tax, not just take tax. And we've been able to do that with quality. And that's down to the Loy family who wanted to create an institution that they could be proud of. And they wanted quality with purpose. And they've driven on that. And you can see our ranking. So I'm very pleased now. We're 27th in Asia. And there's a lot of universities in Asia. It's a big place. And I think that just gives confidence that we have focused on quality and we are trying to make sure that our graduates get a really good experience and that they can go on into good employment. So I think we're a model of what universities what this millennium look like. You can't go back in time. And let me say, my home country, Oxford, Cambridge, over 600 years old, they're magnificent institutions. And you're not going to replicate that. You've got to do something a little bit different. And that's what we're trying to do.
So like yourself, you're pretty much inclined towards academics. So is your son. So is your daughter. What difference does Taylor's University have and the degree that they pursued or they're pursuing at the moment in their respective universities?
The Taylor's University, we have focused on doing professional education for graduate jobs. Right. So when you look at the breadth of what we do, yes, we have a business school and it's AACSB accredited, but we also have a medical school. Medical schools are very expensive to run, but we have pharmacy, bioscience, engineering, architecture. We have a very broad range of activity. Even in a hospitality school, which is ranked in the QS Top 20, and that's partly why we're in Nepal, by the way. We've got to focus on quality. And I think to sustain higher education longer term and to work with industry and have meaningful relationships with industry, you can't be mediocre. Industry doesn't want mediocrity. They want excellence. So for us to drive on that and try our very, very best to give the students the best experience we can, we have to strive to be excellent. And that will sustain us long term. And so far, I think we've achieved that by and large. Although we're not perfect, we're always looking to improve.
So when it comes to IIMS, this very college, we're at the home of Taylor's University, I'd like to call it, in Nepal.
Sure.
What created this partnership, sir? When you look at this partnership between Taylor's University and IIMS, is it merely just transactional? Okay, there's a degree college, we've just collaborated with them, or is there any emotional sense to it? Is there any emotional angle to it? Or is it just like, okay, there's a college, it's getting on well, it's been looked after well, that's it. What is it like?
Well, I think as a part of our strategic plan, I put together a 10-year strategic plan. Partnership is a key element. You can't do it by yourself. And very often there are local issues with global reach. And you want to start talking to partners internationally. I spent a lot of my career in the UK. I had 7 years in the Sultanate of Oman, latterly. I think there was a lot of what they call transnational education from my home country that we pushed out, but we didn't contextualize it to the market. And I thought that was a big missed opportunity. So with Taylor's, we're part of a group. We have schools. We have a university in Vietnam. We have schools in Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia. And of course, Taylor's University is centered in Kuala Lumpur. We are looking at how we can grow and work in partnership to make us better. So this college in Nepal is part of this particular network where we're only 2 hours time difference, so that makes it easy. And I think that in the last 50 years of the last century, everybody was looking to the West. And I think in this century, actually, people are looking to the East. So we want to grow a very strong network in the East. The ASEAN network is a real success and very strong. And we've got partnerships all over our region. We see real dynamism in Asia. And in a place like Nepal, we see an opportunity to grow higher education that can have a really big impact. And we found with IIMS that we had a partner who shared some of our aspirations and who were interested in quality. And we felt when we started in hospitality, we already had a high ranking. We're already working in France with University of Toulouse. A part of the economic development for Nepal is about tourism. And we think we can learn something by being partnered here that we can import to our students back in Kuala Lumpur, while at the same time we can use our experience where we've been successful to hopefully guide our partner here. So you mentioned talking to the students earlier. I want to try and set up some project groups where you might have 2 or 3 students from Nepal working with 2 or 3 students from Taylor's, and they work together on a joint project. The technology is there. We maybe get them to travel. They don't need to travel. And we start to address learning outcomes collectively, but across the institutions. So I thought Nepal was a really good place to be. In terms of the history, Taylor's has benefited from input from and guidance early on from Australian and British universities, and that's helped us grow. And we can hopefully, we can be grateful for that and see how we can help institutions in other places grow. So we have a very positive agenda. And the reason I'm here, it's not just about pushing the degrees out and taking some fee income. We want to be a true partner and have the experience here in Nepal enhance our offer.
So it's not every day that I get to meet and greet and host the president and the vice chancellor of Taylor's University, but your presence today is probably one of those remarkable things that we can pride ourselves on, that you've seriously given your time and your schedule to Nepal and to Nepalese education, with IIMS being at the upfront. So this message that your presence, does it mean something, or how do you want this visit of yours in Nepal to be taken by the general public or the ones who are interested in getting into IIMS?
Well, I would say what I would hope is people realize we're serious about this relationship and that we want to do it for good academic reasons. I think all these partnerships sustain when there's mutual benefit. If it's only one way, they don't last very long. So there's got to be mutual benefit, and we've got to see an academic advantage in doing it. And hopefully that message is getting out there by me being here.
So there are lots of addressing concerns as well. That the foreign universities actually come here just for, there's a term called degree meals.
Yeah, sure.
They're here for business, they do their business, and it's not long term. And it's just about the degrees aren't as effective and efficient for the students for their later lives. Your 2 cents on this.
In the UK system, and the UK's got magnificent universities, and I've seen the proliferation of transnational education, and I've seen examples where it's gone really, really well. And what we want to do with TEL is we want to do it well. And the greatest ambassadors for our reputation are going to be our graduates. So we want the graduates from this college to be proud to be part of Taylor's family. And when they go out, I'd like them to be working, if they're an accountant graduate or a business graduate, should I say, I want them working for the Big Four. We want them to be our ambassadors, and in the long term, that's what will sustain us. We've talked about league tables. It's really hard to make progress on league tables, and you put a big effort in to earn your reputation, and your reputation can be lost very easily. So we are only going to go in with partners who we feel can sustain our reputation long term, because the risks are too high, and we're a private institution. So we believe in this partnership because we think it'll deliver.
So there are lots of countries who are actually way developed than Nepal, realistically speaking.
Yeah.
Why Nepal, sir? Why is it? Why is Nepal's this place is so significant for Taylor's University?
I think there was an alignment with what they were going to do. We've seen an opportunity that we could do it well. We knew there was a commitment from the college to develop, and they've done that. They've opened a new facility today. You don't always need to go to the biggest places. I mentioned last time I was in the Sultanate of Oman. There are 5 million people in Oman and only 2.5 million Omanis. It's a great place to be, and there are really great educational opportunities there. You don't always need to go to India or China. These are big countries, but lots of people are trying to compete there.
Yeah.
I think this is an interesting location, and it's a really great place to visit, and provides great opportunities. So, it makes us a little bit more distinctive. You can follow the pack and, set up a campus in India, but I think it's more interesting to look at other jurisdictions and other cultures.
So the fact that, a lot of people would want to be associated with Taylor's University. Probably you've got a lot of files sitting at your desks, or, proposals that, we'd want to be associated or collaborate with Taylor's University. But what are the guidelines and the basic yardstick for Taylor's University to be associated with any organization around the globe?
Yeah, we in our strategic plan, we have a partnership approach. And you're quite right. I've got a lot of universities coming around wanting to partner in different ways. Many of them are just interested in student numbers. They want us to get students to them. And we can do some of that. The key for me is you've got to have an academic alignment. So on a lot of the international partners, the Western partners particularly, I always ask them, what interest do you have in Southeast Asia? What's your academic interest in Southeast Asia? So in a business school, is it about the Malaysian economy, the ASEAN economy? How does that work compared to an economy in Europe or America? What is it about working in Southeast Asia? We've been looking at architecture. How do you put up buildings in tropical climates? How do you adapt to lifestyles in tropical climates? So we have a research center called the Center for Asian Modernization. And what we find is in Asia, things are moving very quickly. much more quickly than the West. We adapt them quickly. Food, culture, cultural integration is strong. Building and development is strong. There's so much happening in the part. So if we've got partners who are interested in Asian modernization, we should be the partner of choice because we are in Kuala Lumpur. And we can open doors for some of our partners that they wouldn't have without us in partnership. So the key is academic alignment. We've got to have a common goal. And I think in the long term, that's what will sustain us.
So I had a brief chat, I had a detailed chat with the college administration and the college representatives before I got this opportunity to host you in this very podcast. And they're very much focusing on the fact that we are very highly monitored by the university. On a day-to-day basis, what we are teaching, how we are teaching, the evaluation process, the curriculum. What has the experience been like with IIMS? Sir? Is IIMS pretty much of a college that you've been seeing growth with? Is IIMS the kind of college that you've had a very elegant and very smooth relationship with? Is it very difficult or is it very easy to get things around? What has been your experience like?
Our experience has been positive. The management team here are very proactive and very responsive. We are monitored by the Malaysian Qualifications Authority. Although we are now self-accredited, we got that this year, so that gives us a little more freedom. But we've got to make sure we preserve the quality and that we comply with the regulations. So we want the students here will get a tailor's degree. We want that degree to have the same value as a tailor's degree on campus. Now, when I say that doesn't mean it should be just us giving you the teaching materials. You've got to contextualize it to your market. And that's where you get the benefit. And we look at that and see what we can take from that and bring that back in. So we want to work with a college so that we maintain quality and that we can say that if anyone getting a tailor's degree has met the quality and the standards that are required. And the college have been very receptive to that. I think they realize as well, for them to sustain themselves, they need to do it well. So it's been fairly straightforward. So we started off with, IT hospitality. And again, IT is part of the economic plan for Nepal. And we then have drifted into business, partly because we were under accreditation with AACSB, so we had to just phase that. We know the college now are looking at an MBA, and our MBA is ranked number 1 in Malaysia, and we'd be very happy to look at how we contextualize an MBA for this market. And again, we think there's a lot we can learn from that. So I think the relationship will continue to grow. And, we're delighted to be able to support the college. And, I know with time, it may be in time that the college can survive without tailors. It matures enough and is at a point where we part company, and we will do that amicably in the long term. But at the moment, we're very, very closely committed to the college, and we think there's a long way to go yet before we see them being independent enough to do that.
So my idea of, getting associated with a foreign university was, okay, the college gets associated with the university for a foreign university, and then they bring up the degrees crazily, crazily as in, okay, we want this degree, and we want to associate with you, and you give us the degree. But apparently it's not that. I was told by the academic director that we've been applying for the degrees.
Yes, that's right.
And Challis University has been closely guiding us for the criteria that we need to meet. Once we meet the criteria, then we get to have the degrees. And what are the criteria to, for a college to, even though, there's been a long partnership, but to get a degree, to be taught in Nepal, the program to be brought in Nepal, what are the criteria that you specifically have it in? Okay, this college needs to have this. And then you get the program to be taught.
Yes. So in Malaysia, like many countries, through our Malaysian Qualifications Agency, we have a thing called program standards.
Okay.
So there are program standards for every program, and we have to meet the program. And that includes staff-student ratio for different programs. So for pharmacy in Malaysia, it's 10:1, very low. Other programs would be a little different. So we have to comply with the program standard. Now, within that program standard, you've got some flexibility to configure in certain ways, of course, but you've got to meet the program standards. So what if we need to offer our degree here, the college here has to meet that program standard too. Now, the confounding factor here also is you have your own higher education ministry here, and we have to comply with their requirements too, because it's your country. So it's a little more complex because you're dealing with two jurisdictions, but we found it actually fairly straightforward.
So what is the future for IIMS in association with TELUS University, like in the upcoming years? What are the things that we can expect in terms of education, in terms of exposure? What has been going on, sir?
Well, I think we'll be seeing more academic development, and we will see more programs offered here. I would like to see a global degree where it's a partnership where both parties are putting in, if you like, 50%, and perhaps 50% of the program is delivered by staff here and 50% delivered by staff in TELUS. And we have the benefits of expertise in two different countries. That brings together something really very interesting that would benefit students. So I think more of that partnership will happen. I think in TELUS, we've moved very quickly on technological advances. We do anything called high flex learning, hybrid and flexible, and we're using the power of AI to do a lot of that. So we're changing our teaching and learning approach, and hopefully we can use our expertise to work with the college here to try and again get them more technologically enabled, because we've got a big team doing that, and we think that could be a benefit here as well.
Wow. I mean, it just makes me hopeful for the fact that there's a long-term project or long-term vision with respect to Nepal and IIMS going forward with TELUS University. How do you segregate? Like, there are lots of colleges around the world that are associated with TELUS University, and how do you segregate? Each country needs this strategy is suitable for this country. Probably, some country is at a level. Nepal could be at a different level or different level.
Sure.
How do you strategize the future of education, where it needs to reach in probably 5 years from now?
We can't work with everyone. That you have to pick your strategic partners.
Okay.
And then you have to commit to those partners to make the relationship meaningful. One of the things we have in TELUS, we've got an award for this, a QS award for innovation in education. We create a thing called Impact Labs with Purpose. So 100% of programs in TELUS have an Impact Lab. And it's teaching and learning, but it's also translational research. So to give an example, every student will do at least one Impact Lab. And the easy one to talk about is the Impact Labs are linked to the United Nations Strategic Development Goals. And we have an Impact Lab for education for all. Okay. So we have a school of education at TELUS. And what they identified is, in the schools in the Klang Valley near us, children from poor socioeconomic groups, if they got left behind at school between the ages of 5 and 9, they never caught up. They were always left behind. Because when they went home, their parents weren't reading to them, or they didn't have, books in the house or access to internet or whatever it would be. So we put an intervention in there to try and support those young children to get them back on the train. And when they get back on the train, they complete the journey. Okay. So the project was called Bacha Bacha, which in Malay is read.
Okay.
Read. And our students were involved in our academics, and we had the community involved, and we've had quite a lot of grant money involved. It's really been an inspirational project. Now, you can see that's a local project in the Klang Valley, but it's got global reach. My guess is every city in the world will have children from poor socioeconomic groups who get left behind. So what we want to try and do is partner internationally with a few people who have an interest in this area and see how we might use our experience, but how it works in other places. And we come together where we can then set up a set of guidelines about how you deal with that. And then hopefully governments will change their policy and they'll adopt the guidelines so these young children are looked after. They shouldn't be left behind because they're poor. We should put in the support because countries need to use all the talent. If you've got talented young children, they could be really talented adults. Why would you want to waste that talent? So it's in the economic benefit of the country to think about how it releases that potential. And that's some of the work we're doing. So we will do that in partnership. So we're going to set up a number of global impact labs based upon these goals. And we will partner with a range of institutions where we think we can get a really competitive advantage. So just as an example, I was talking to a university in Scotland, and they're sending some of their students to Kuala Lumpur next February, March, with a member of staff to participate in one of our impact labs because they think it would work well in Glasgow. So you've got to just try and navigate your way through that. But the partnerships will vary a little bit depending on what we're trying to achieve. But we won't be taking on many, many projects because it's just impossible to manage a large number of partners. So the majority of our partners will be in Asia. As I say, the East is rising.
This is pretty much very honestly put forward. You've not covered it up like, you've not sugar-coated things. You just put it out right there up front. So as a university, as the president and, as the vice chancellor, what kind of pressure do you go through? Because to be at the top world's 6% AACSB accredited university, there's a lot of work that has gone by.
Sure.
And there's still, just to maintain that position, there's a lot more work to do.
Yeah.
Because other universities probably would want to be at the place where Tellers is right now. And there's competition in the universities as well.
Sure.
Not as put out there as loud, but there is definitely some competition.
Of course, absolutely.
How do you deal with it? What keeps you sane or the team sane?
Well, I don't worry about it too much, frankly. I've got the best job in the world. I get to head a university. I get to work with really clever people, really motivated people. Today, walking around the street, the enthusiasm from the students and the desire to learn was wonderful to see. So I work in a wonderful environment. The single thing I can do is hire good people. So I focus on hiring talented people. And then I've got to have the confidence to let them thrive.
Professor Barry, I so want to ask you this question right after you said this. If Professor Barry Winn had to hire people in his core team, what are the basic qualities that you'd want in your team?
Well, what I look for is a really good attitude, a commitment, strong work ethic, good attitude, and selflessness. It has to be about working as a team and a community. It's not about egos and individuals. And I don't deal with any of that here, actually. In Kuala Lumpur, I've got a bunch of staff who very much are, the Taylor's community is strong. But it's about attitudinal. You've got to have a can-do attitude.
So it's all about the attitude.
I think so,
the
absolutely.
approach to things.
Yeah, there's 1,000 ways to not do things, and there might be one way to do it. Let's do it. Let's find the one way.
So the attitude in finding the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is about people's attitude. There's no doubt. I mean, there's lots of talented people in the world. Mm-hmm. And the person with the highest IQ isn't always going to be the most successful. You've got to marry up the ability, you've got to have the talent, but you've got to put that together with a commitment. And if you haven't got both sides of that, you'll not succeed.
Okay, the last question of our podcast now, sir. You've interacted with the students here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very short time to judge upon things. But the difference that you see where you're stationed right now in Malaysia and the thing that you've been, experiencing today here, what difference? Because for me, when I've had a chat with you, you don't look like a person who is stiff and, who does not go out there and interact with students. It gives me an impression that you go out there, the way you've talked to me, the way you've interacted with the students. What difference do you see with the students in Malaysia and the students here in Nepal?
Well, if I could talk about them collectively, because what I would say is that I think the students I deal with at Taylor's here and in Nepal today, they radiate optimism. When I met those students today, I could feel the energy coming off them. They absolutely radiate optimism. And we have to back them and do the very best we can to give them the tools so they can succeed, because they've got a really good attitude. And I see that also, I have to say, in Malaysia. We are in a particular market segment. We're a private institution. Families are paying fees. The students come to learn. They're not passive. And I think very often when I've been in the UK's got wonderful institutions and again, wonderful students, but it's almost become an expectation and an entitlement. And to get the energy levels up sometimes is a little bit more difficult. But I just think people are so thankful to have the opportunity to get access to higher education and take them and their families on to the next level. And it's our job to support them.
So concluding this podcast, Professor Barry, I'd like to repeat the thing that you just said to me while we were just about to begin the podcast, that you had a blessed life.
I have.
How do you come across this statement, and how do you say that, okay, I have a blessed life? What are the basic criteria for a person, any individual, to feel that way? Because I don't come across people so many, like you've just said. It has really made an impact on me today.
Well, I said to you just a moment ago, I've got the best job in the world. I go to work every day. Nobody tells me what to do. Nobody's told me what to do since I was about 28 years of age. I've done the research I wanted to do. You've got to teach well, but nobody tells you how to it's in your own hands. I got to work and I've got the freedom to express myself, innovate, work with colleagues, find new ways of doing things. So I've got a great job. What I would say through a career, I don't want to give you the sense there's not ups and downs. We all have, bumps in the road. And of course we do. And we have family issues and work issues. But every time in my career that I've run into some difficulty or a challenge that I didn't think I could overcome, someone emerged to help me. Whether that be a mentor, a colleague, someone supporting me from below. Every time I could chart a course of people who just suddenly emerged to guide me or help me on my way. And I'm very grateful for that. And many of them are still close friends and certainly colleagues. Rather sadly, some of the vice chancellors who looked after me have now passed on, but they live long in my memory.
It's been an experience talking to you, Professor Barry. And as your name suggests, you've always won. There's a win in your name.
There is.
And it pretty much looks like, talking to you, you've just given out the formula to win in life. Thank you so much, Professor Barry. It's been an utmost pleasure and honor for me to be hosting you. And it's been a learning experience with you. And probably from this day on, there's a different perspective and a narrative to life that I'll probably set on and embark on. Thank you so much.
And it's very kind. And thank you for being so generous with your time too.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.